guys, and welcome to the FitPro Social with me, David Kyle.
And me, Ash Burley. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to this week's episode of the FitPro Social. So welcome back, Dave. How are we doing? Had a good week?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Raining. Yeah. I think that's why I'm feeling tired, you know. I said before we started, I'm feeling a bit tired today, and I think maybe that's what it is, because of the rain.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? When you get like darker weather or crap weather outside, it seems to drain you a lot more. I always find that during the winter months compared to the summer months. The summer months I'm so much more focused and active, like when the sun's out, as opposed to when it's dark outside and start work and it's dark, you finish work and it's dark. And yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Makes motivation a bit more difficult sometimes and makes you feel a little bit more tired. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the weather today, are we? So as you've probably seen, no, not today, we're not the weather channel. As you've probably seen if you're watching this, the title, which is what me and Dave would do individually as well, what we would do if we was to start again from scratch. So literally everything went completely peaked on. Our businesses are all shut down and we had to start again from scratch in 2025. What would we do and how do we start our businesses now? And I'm guessing we're going to focus maybe on our fitness businesses more than I think what we do as a fitness business more than what we're exactly doing now. But yeah, that's what we're going to go and talk about today. So if you are watching, if you're listening, or however you're coming across this now, especially if you're doing it live, please make sure you do say hello in the comments and let us know as well. Like, have you maybe been through a situation like this where your business has gone down and you've had to go and start again? Or maybe you've thought about it and you've got your own ideas around how you would go and start things again or how you do things differently if you was able to go and start again. So let us know in the comments. It'd be good to hear from you on that one. So yeah, Dave, let's shall we jump straight into it? So what did you do differently?
Oh, so many things. I like, you know, when you got started and it was almost like your parents, so you don't know everything. You don't know everything yet. You think, yeah, I fucking know everything. I know everything. I've watched a few YouTube videos. I've seen what a few other people are doing. This is going to be easy. And then you get in a few years in and you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? Or why did I post that? Or why did I say that? Or why did I get rid of that client? Or why did I keep that client? And you just think, oh, if I could start again. That's what we're talking about today. I think the first thing everybody should do, but no one even ever thinks about, is what it is you actually want out of this fitness business. I know, like, when we were both young, you used to bounce on those thin bits of thread for a living. I mean, I would coach little kids to play football and it was just fun.
Yeah, just fun. That's all it was.
But there was no real kind of like end destination of where we want to get to, why we're doing this, what's the real reason we want to do this. Yeah. And I think if we had that back then, if we both knew where we wanted to be, we probably could have made that work a lot better. And I think that's probably the first thing we need to look at now, because when most people open a studio or they go and speak to a church hall and have a boot camp, or they just start doing one-to-one at the park, or they rent some space in a local commercial gym to do your one-to-one sessions. Yeah, fantastic, great. But without knowing where you really want to get to, it makes everything else difficult. Like, you just pick a number out the air for pricing, which is what I did. You just decide to run some ads, or you just decide to run this model, or you decide to do this follow-up process, because you don't really know where you want to get to, so you can't have a clear direction of what you want to achieve.
Yeah, and without knowing that, everything just becomes a bit of a yes game. I think when I first started out in business, I'll say yes to a lot of things because I'm like, well, I just need to go make money and have fun doing it. So that's what I did. I used to go out and say yes to a lot of different stuff without really thinking, is that actually the right thing to do? Is that actually going to get me to where I want to be? And the problem was I didn't really know where I wanted to be. I might have thought I did, but I didn't. I didn't really take the time to sit there and think, what do I want my life to be like? And I think that's the key thing, like you're saying there, Dave. You need to not just look at what you want your business to be. You want to look at what you want your business to do for you. Like, what do you want your life to be like? Like, how do you want your day-to-day to be? What's important to you? And when you understand that, you can start designing your business and what you do with it around that and become more focused on the things that are actually important. And I do think that's very difficult when you're young. Both me and Dave started our businesses when we're very young. You know, you think you're an adult when you're like 19, 20 or whatever, but I don't even think I became an adult until I was in my mid-30s, and I started even thinking slightly differently in order to be honest with you. Yeah, like you say, back then you think you know it all. You know some of the basics, you learn a few things, but the experience that you go through and not really understanding what you're in this game for, I think is the thing that gives people a disservice. So that would definitely be the number one thing I would do to start off with is look at what do I personally want from this business, and then I'd design everything around that. So yeah, that's definitely my number one thing I'd do.
Yeah, I think straight away, because people obviously take you for granted when you get started as well. The amount of people that said, you know what, I'll pay next time I turn up, or I'm going to turn up tomorrow, I'll just pay them when I get there. And you're just like, yeah, no worries, pay after the session, I'll pay next time you come in and all that type of stuff, because you're trying to please everybody, because you don't know where it is you actually want to get to. If you knew where it is you wanted to get to, like say if you jumped in a car from your house there and you needed to drive all the way to London, you're not just going to take huge random detours and do loads of kind of random things. You just want to get to London. That's the whole point of this journey, is to get to this next place. So by not having this end destination, and it's not like, yeah, I want to have a £500,000 house. I want to go on 7 holidays here. I want to open 8 studios. I want to have 15 staff working for me. That's not where we want to get to. It's more about you personally. Think of like maybe an income goal that you want to be at. So if you set your income goal at 50K, then now you need to work backwards from there. What do I need to be charging? What setup do I need? What model do I need? What pricing do I need to be at in order to get myself to 50K a year? Once you know that number, like we've said this many times, your business is the vehicle that's going to get you to that location. And that's one thing that trips most people up at the start. Well, it certainly did trip me up at the start.
Yeah, it got me as well. It made me kind of overcomplicate things quite a lot. I think a lot of time, and I think more so now, it's easier to fall into this trap, is overcomplicating your systems, your processes, all those kind of things, because you look at it and think, okay, this is what, I don't know, you might see Mosey or whatever talking about stuff and saying like, you need this, and this in place. But if you only want to take home like 50K profit and you do the maths backwards from that, you realize it's not actually probably as much work as you think it is to go and do that. But you're, for some reason, because every ad you see, every YouTube thing you watch, you listen to all these people that are got £1 million a month businesses, or 7K business, 7-figure businesses. So you start building the same systems that they've got, and in reality, you probably don't. You need the principles of those systems, but you probably don't need the complexity of some of those systems. And I think that's something I fell into quite a lot when I was younger. I was like, especially for me, because I used to watch my dad. He's got a 7-figure business, and I think, I'll do this, and this. And in reality, I didn't really need to do that, and that. I could have started off a lot simpler and probably grown quicker and got to where I wanted to get to quicker if I just didn't get influenced too much into doing these other things. So again, understanding what you want out of this and doing that process of working backwards from it allows you to really see what you actually need, what you need to do in order to get the things that you want.
Because it's crazy to think, like, most people see, oh yeah, he's running a 6-figure business, I want to be running a 6-figure business. Now, me and Ash both run 6-figure businesses, but our businesses are very different. I'm very much staff heavy. I've got loads of staff and loads of outgoings for the rent of the building and all those extra stuff. So my outgoings are quite a lot, and that's a 6-figure business. Ash has a 6-figure business, and he works from his bedroom. So like,
I feel like I sleep in here sometimes, yeah.
But like, so when someone says, you know what, I've got 6-figure business, there's so many other variables to it. They might say that, yet their costs are 999,000, and all they're taking home every year is £1,000 in profit, because they're huge outgoings. So again, it's all relative to you. Don't try and base your decisions on what other people are doing or what other people are saying. Look at what it is you want. Like, we've got to the point, maybe when I was younger, I was like, I'll open 5 studios across Cardiff. And then I think about it now, like, bloody hell, all the staff that I would have needed to have, all the clients I needed to have, all the headaches that would have come from this, all the stress that would have come from opening 5 studios is not what I want. I don't want that in my life. So that's why we changed it.
And I think that's a key thing to those experiences that you go through. And it's a difficult question that we can answer in here, isn't it? Because you're saying, what would we do differently now? we've had these different experiences, and some of those things have implemented. Like the way I run my business now, there's well, effectively three of us that do stuff within the business, not around here, but you know, I work from home. It's a home office. Like I say, sometimes I feel like I sleep in here, like it does feel like a bedroom sometimes. But that's also a consequence of the structure of how I run my business, maybe compared to your business. But because you have more staff and it's more staff heavy, there's a lot more things you can delegate. There's things that people can keep an eye on certain stuff and things like that. I chose not to go and do that now because I went through a relatively bad experience with staff. Because to be honest with you, I think most business owners who have staff will probably say their biggest headache is probably staffing and dealing with that. And I decided to change things up. But doing that, I also knew there would be consequences. And those consequences normally are, if shit hits the fan sometimes, the person that's got to go and really deal with that is me. And I can't always delegate it because I don't have the team there to delegate it all the time. So there's definitely pros and cons of both. And again, unless you understand what kind of lifestyle you want, what kind of approach you want, how you want to feel in your day to day, you can't build a business around that, because you could end up putting yourself in a position where you've got a business you don't actually want. And that's a horrible position to be in, because then you have to change things, and that's difficult to do sometimes.
So here's the big one then. Would you change anything in the past to get you to where you are today, or everything you've done in the past has made you into the business owner that you are now?
That's tricky, isn't it? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Like if someone said, if I know everything I know now and I was going to start again in the past, and I went to my former self and I'd say, go and do this, I'd tell them to do different things. I would do things slightly differently based on what I know now. Like I'd invest in certain things as well if I could see the future. But that's the thing, isn't it? It's the ability to go and see the future. You don't know what it is. But then again, if I didn't go through those different things, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I've got now. So the question would be, like, even if I did try and do all these things and explain these things to someone else and make these changes, would I be able to do what I'm doing now? Because I wouldn't have gone through those experiences in the first place. So it's tricky, isn't it? It's a hard one. I probably wouldn't. There's so many cool things that have happened in my life, and there's so many shitty things that have happened in my life as well. But I think every single one of those things has contributed to how I do things in my life and in my business. So
let me ask you a different question in that. So becoming an online FitPro was really, really hyped up maybe 6 months ago, maybe last year, and it's still quite big. Loads of gym owners, loads of boot camp owners, PTs and everything have this hype around it. Oh my God, I'd love to be a online FitPro. And there's hype and there's dreams, and they probably sit at Starbucks and visualize it and manifest it and everything, and think, wow, it's going to be a game changer. I don't need to wake up at 6 o'clock. I don't need to work till 10 o'clock at night, and all this type of stuff. But you see this day in and day out. Does their mind quickly change once they've experienced what it's like being an online FitPro?
Yeah, most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time. I think when they first come into, they had this expectation. I think there's a reason for those expectations, which if we've got time, we can dig into. I'm pretty sure I know why there's that expectation there. But most of them are quite shocked, I think, with how hard it is to stay in it for the long term. There are ways to make income very, very quickly. Like with most businesses, there's ways to get good cash injection in. Most of those things generally aren't sustainable. Just because you'll just burn out by doing it. But you can make money relatively quick doing it. I think these days, if you're to start now, you have to approach it in a very different way to what you would have done a year ago, 2 years ago, just because things take a little bit longer now to do than what they used to. And there's a number of different reasons for that. But yeah, I think most people are shocked at how difficult and how hard it can be.
And that's the point there then, isn't it? You have to experience it, even just a little bit, to know what needs to change. And I think that's probably where we all have to go through. We all have to experience it in some shape or form. Just listening to what other people say can never truly give you the answers that you need. Like, I've never driven... trying to think now, a Peugeot. Have I driven a Peugeot? I've never driven a Peugeot. Yet you've got a Peugeot. And so this is the point. Like, you could tell me, like, this is the best car in the world. It drives the best. It does all this amazing things. And that's your thoughts. But until you have actually experienced it, so myself driving a Peugeot car, I won't know if that is any different to any other type of car out there, because I've not had that experience. And I think you have to have these experiences to be able to become a better person, a better business owner, a better coach. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's why you see it in, or even like our coaching programs, you see it, you can tell people the answer, but you can also give people enough rope to hang themselves a little bit and then be there to support them when you need it. Because sometimes it's important for them to go through that process because they'll learn more from it, even though it might be painful to do. And I think that's important. That's what a good coach does sometimes. A good coach will let people go through certain processes, even though they know it's not going to be the nicest experience for them, but they'll know they'll gain a better lesson from that. And as long as you're there to help support them, pick them up, rebuild them, and help put them in the right direction, it is sometimes better to let people go through these ups and downs sometimes because it will serve them better in the long run.
Yeah,
and I think that's the hallmark of a good coach at that level.
So let's move quickly on then, because obviously we've been on this one topic for ages now. So we've talked about what you want is probably the first key element of it. The reason, so like me and you were quite young when we dived into becoming self-employed. So that is working for yourself. You got other people who dive into self-employment when they're 30, 40, 50, because they've experienced what it's like working with somebody else. They've seen a gap in the market. They've been frustrated. All these other things. So now you know why you want to run a business or be self-employed, because you know what income you want to earn or the lifestyle you want to work. You've kind of worked out your model. And that's kind of where I always start with everything we do. And I think it's similar to you. But then we move into, now we need to find clients. Like that is the first thing we do. And obviously the first thing we all do is posts on Facebook and Instagram.
yeah. I think the first thing everyone does is post on Facebook. And I think the key thing when it looks for finding clients is, and especially again, if I'm starting again from scratch, the first couple of things I'll look at is one is understand who I actually want to go and work with. That's the key thing. Yeah. Figure out who are the people I actually want to work with. And secondly, what's the offer? I wouldn't build anything out. I wouldn't create anything. I wouldn't do anything else other than like, this is who I want to work with. This is the problem I'm going to go and solve for them. And this is the offer I'm going to go make for them. And I'd figure those things out first. Because if I can understand those things, who I want to work with, what's the problem solving for them, what the offer is, I can figure out where they are, because they might not even be on Facebook. Because I think I do that for years. I post on Facebook all the time, and it might not be that my audience wants to be on there. And they could be in loads of different places. And I think if I did things now, I would do things slightly differently. But yeah, that's what I figure out first. Then I figure out like what's the big problem that I'm going to go and solve for them, because that's going to help me understand what I need to talk about. And then I try and figure out what's the main offer. I want to go and offer them, and then I offer it them. Basically, that's what I do.
But then the offer goes back to that first point we talked about, doesn't it? Like, what is it you want? If you want to be able to go on 3 5-star 2-week holidays a year, that's going to set you back 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 pounds. So you now need to earn 10,000 pounds for that. You also have got to pay your mortgage, your gas, electric, everything else, your tax, everything else that comes into it. And then you conclude, you know what, I need to earn 45,000 pounds a year. So now you need to do the maths, and that's where the offer comes in. And this is such a huge issue I had at the start, and I've mentioned this loads and loads and loads of times. I picked out the air, I was searching in the air like this, and I picked out the number 50, and I charged £50 a month. I hadn't worked out the offer. I hadn't worked out what I wanted. I haven't worked out all the costings of running this business, this vehicle to get me to where I want to get to. And that's where I trip myself up. And like you were saying there, the offer it's merged into that first section of what you want as well. Once you know what you want, you then build the offer. And the offer then can dictate, or I call it more like a business model, because obviously there's very different, there's a few parameters. There's 4 pillars to an offer. And that's what will get you to the pricing point that you want to get to. And like you said, does your target audience fit that offer? If not, then you have to change it again.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you understand, again, that first thing we talked about, when you understand that, you can work out your price and you can figure out, okay, that offer is going to be what's best for me. Do I want to work with like a handful of people? Do I want to work with lots of people? How does that translate into what my day-to-day life is going to be like? Like, what type of business do I need? If you're working with hundreds of people, you're probably going to need a team. You're working with 5 people, you probably don't. So, like, it all depends on like what kind of business and stuff that you want. So, yeah, it really all ties. And they're the first things I would deal with. Literally, that's what I deal with. The who I want to work with, the problem I solve for them, and the main offer I want to go and give them. And that's literally what I would then go and start with. And then I'd use that to guide once I've ticked the boxes to say I'm happy with that. and it fits what I want, then I'd use that to guide how I go and market to people. Because there's no point marketing where you think you have to market. You might think, I'm going to go market on Facebook. And theoretically, there's lots of people on Facebook. Of course, there is. Doesn't mean they're going to see it. So it's important to understand that you are actually in the places where your audience is going to hang out. And there's normally 3 different ways to do that mainly. One is paid. The one is more organically. And the one is by creating partnerships with people that are also serving the same audience as you. They're really the 3 key ways of doing it. And those paid and organic and partnerships can both be online and offline, regardless of whether you have an online or offline business. Like, people get stuck on that all the time. I did when I first started online. I'm an online business. I have to sell it online. I have to market online. Like,
to somebody in like China or something. Like, no, exactly. You can just work with people in Mansfield.
Yeah, just Mansfield's fine. Like, what I've got is not an online business. It's an online product. It's an online service. Like, how I market that has nothing to do. Doesn't have to be online. It doesn't. I could go to events. I can go to pop-ups. I can go to coffee shops. I can speak to people in the local area. I can run ads in Mansfield instead of running ads to China, like you say. So, like, there's all sorts of different things you can do. And again, that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I made when I started off, is making this assumption that I have to go big if I'm selling online. I can do it the same way I kind of would if I was doing it in person. You know, go for the local area, target those people.
So, like you said there, so you just want to be one person team. You want to earn 5K a month, being self-employed, just working for yourself with no other staff, and you're 21. So you go on your Facebook and you're like, damn, you know, everybody on Facebook is around my age. It's all my schoolmates, my aunties, my uncles. Yet if I want to be earning 5K a month and I need to be charging £500-600, that means it's like 10 people I need to work with every single month. Does that audience, my friends from school, my aunties, my uncles, can they afford that? And I think that's, you want to tap into that very local niche community that you have on your Facebook. But then you do, like you said, need to move into those other channels of paid, organic, and partnerships.
Yeah, without a doubt. If you don't have those things in place, then it's going to be very, very difficult for you to keep just tackling those people in front of you on
his online
Facebook
fitness business. He literally started shouting out of his window, doing his videos from his kitchen outside of his house, doing his local online boot camp, and everything stayed super local for him.
Yeah. You just caught up with me then. Had a little gap for some reason, and you caught up with me. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, definitely. I think, and that's the key thing. If you are young, you haven't got that kind of audience right in front of you. And I think businesses should start off with who they know. I think that's the key thing for any business. And that's, again, something I would do. I think when I very first started out, I did go and target the people I wanted to go and work with. Like, I was quite lucky. I had a bit of a decent background in business and support and stuff from my family with that. But I think now I would speak to other people that I know, and I would just tell them what I'm doing. Like, it doesn't mean if they were your ideal client, if they're going to be your client or not, you don't know who they know. And one of the key things really for any business, and it's just a simple thing to do, is just to let everyone know what you're doing. So even if your target market isn't on the likes of Facebook and it isn't your auntie, your uncle, your friends from school or whatever it is, just tell them, like, this is what I'm doing, because you never know who they might know. And I think that's the key thing. You want to always be there. You want to be on the tip of their tongues. Like, most of my friends always refer people over my way, even though, like, none of them will buy from me because they're not my target audience. But the amount of people they run into think, oh, I know somebody who can do this or know somebody who can do that. And then I make connections and stuff from them. So just because they're not your audience doesn't mean you shouldn't speak to them and utilize them. But yeah, there's only so far that's going to take you. You do have to go to those places and find them.
What were the funny mistakes that you made, or things that you spent a long time doing when you got started because you thought that was the most important part of running a business?
From a business perspective or service perspective, or both?
Both.
Well, actually, one of them's the same, actually. The first thing was I focused way too much on my initial product that I was putting out there. So before I did anything else, I got my head down and thought, this is the product I'm going to go and create. I wrote like loads of massive ebooks and all sorts of random things and built everything out. And I spent months building it, not doing anything to test the offer, not actually writing an offer, not speaking to people, not marketing it. And got to the end and I put a post up and got crickets, basically. So I think a lot of people spend too much time developing their product before they've actually put anything out there. And you haven't even tested the water yet. So it kind of goes back to, again, that's probably one of my biggest mistakes I made. And like these days, if I was going to say to anybody, and it's a hard thing, I know, because I literally have this conversation daily with people I work with. I need the product hash before I can go out there and sell it. No, you don't. You need your offer, and you need to go and test to see if it's the right thing yet, because you could spend so much time building it, and no one might not want it. So test it, pre-sell it first, then start to build it after. Sell it as a beta if you have to, and then build your service around that. Because whatever happens anyway, even if you was to build that product out and the offer you created was good and people wanted to go and purchase it, and they did come and purchase it, you're going to get feedback from them and you're going to adapt and adjust it anyway. So why double up the amount of work you need to do? Just build it as you go and build it off of feedback, and then use that to start developing your product, your service, and your offer.
Thinking about it now, one of the things I spent 4 days, I literally remember I jumped on YouTube, obviously back in the day. It was like, how do I build a website? I need a website. So I watched the video and I built this website over 4 days, and it like just wasting so much time compared to now. I'd just say just a simple 1-page landing page. Tell them what you're doing, capture their details. But I spent all this time doing it. But thinking about it, maybe that is why I did get into marketing and websites and lead gen and systems and sales and everything. So yeah, it's a bit of a head scratch, that one, because maybe that was the reason I got into this point.
Yeah, it goes back to that same thing at the start, like you asked me earlier, like what happens, like if you could go back and change anything, would you change it or not? Because is that what makes you how you are today? And there's definitely ups and downs of us, obviously, what you've gone through and then what I've gone through that influence what you're doing in your businesses. Like the stuff that I think both of us do now, we probably wouldn't have done if it weren't for the ups and downs and what happened in our previous businesses, the things we've learned from that. And yeah, exactly like you say, I think that's also a big, massive mistake people make. They go and not just build the product out, but build like the websites out. They have all these different things, which are important to some extent, but they're not going to, like a website itself won't bring you cash into your business. And that's generally what you need when you first start out. You've got to get cash in. That should be your number one priority. Like get cash in your business. It's like bleeding out as a human and not having any more blood going back in again. And building a website is going to contribute to that eventually, but it's not going to bring you any cash in. There's other ways to go and do that. And I think that's where a lot of people, again, make mistakes. You need to be thinking about fundamentally, what do I need to do? Like, what are the fundamental things I need for this business to be successful? And one of those is getting cash in. So what do I need to get cash in? Well, I need to go and find some clients from somewhere. So what do I need in order to go and get clients? Well, I need leads in order to go and get clients. So, okay, where do I go and find leads? And you just start working your way backwards, and then you start joining the dots between them all. And if you actually join the dots in the simplest form, at no point in that process do you technically need a website. Like, you can do it completely manually if you want to. And a lot of these other things that build up over time will build up as your business starts to scale and grow. And I think then you can start adding in extra systems, adding in extra automations, adding in websites, adding in more detailed sales pages, whatever, based on data as you start going through those processes. But in reality, the fundamental things you need in order to start growing a successful business don't require a lot of stuff. They just really require you to take action and do the work.
So you spent all this time creating these magical ebooks and everything. I spent all this time creating their websites. Do you think we were influenced by big brands and we thought we needed to be a brand rather than just being yourself? And as we all know, people buy from people.
Mm-hmm.
So starting off by being you, but letting people buy into you, not big fancy ebooks or big amazing names and all this type of stuff. All that can come later down the line, but people buy into people. And I think maybe that's where a lot of us trip ourselves up again, because we want to make our name sound huge, buy 1,000 followers on Instagram or 10,000 followers on Instagram to make it look like we've got huge Instagram accounts, yet our audience like reactions and nothing. I think that's the type of things that trip a lot of people up at the start.
Yeah, I do. And I think more so now than ever. We're talking here about how we do things in 2025, and things have changed a lot since we started for both me and Dave. If you look at what the time was like then, certain social media platforms didn't even exist when both me and Dave started. How social media worked was different. The algorithms were very, very different. I mean, let me know, when I first started, Facebook didn't even have a wall, and they didn't even have Facebook groups. I mean, like it was that long ago, and you think like a lot of things change. How people interact with each other has changed a lot since then. We've had a lot of big events here in the world that's affected how people think and how they buy and how they interact with each other and what's important to them. And even more recently, we've had how AI is starting to change things completely as well. There's a big thing to be said about authenticity and about having that personal touch. And I do believe for a lot of businesses, unless you want to go and be one of those bigger players, and there's nothing wrong with going to do that. But in reality, most people listening to this and most business owners are small, medium enterprise businesses. They are smaller businesses. They're probably going to maybe do 6 figures a year. Most of them probably won't. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can live a very successful life without having to hit 6 figures. You really can. Like, you don't need that much stuff, and you can have that personal touch. And I think those kind of people, those kind of businesses are going to stand out more over the next coming years, because we're going to have a split in terms of how people buy and where they're going to buy and where they're going to spend, especially with the likes of AI and more technology coming in. So I think having that side of it's going to be really, really important. And yeah, I think that personal touch is going to be really important. I really do. And I think having you there coming across, being authentic, not having all the fancy PDFs, not worrying about all the massive followings, because in reality, you don't need those things if you understand what you want from your life and you've done the maths and you've worked backwards. Because then you just do what you need to in order to be the success you want to be.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now. Like you said, back in the day, we could run ads for 50 pence leads back in the day, and people would almost buy straight from the ad. So you can sell people to a payment page and purchase £300, £400, £500 product. Never, ever, ever going to happen in this day and age for fitness. It's just not going to happen. That's why times have changed, and that's why you need to keep up with trends, but also the marketing processes, and most of all, how people react. Like you say, there was no groups back in the day, so everything was done via a personal account, and you could only have 5,000 friends. So you were kind of a bit stuck at that point, and that's why email was huge. Email is still huge, but your aim was to try and get people onto email. These days now, it's trying to get as many of your followers over to Instagram maybe, or into a Facebook group, and these different types of platforms. So it is trying to keep up with these ever-growing changes so you can make sure your business is always in the right place. But at the end of the day, it always comes back to the more conversations you have, the more sales you make. And it really is that straightforward. If you have loads of conversations with people, you will make more sales.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? No matter what happens, the mechanisms in which you can do those things have changed. But the basic principle of sales and marketing and business in general, I don't think it's changed for over 100 years, or probably even longer. Like, people have always sold stuff in exactly the same way. It's just the mechanism in which that sale is done or that lead generation is done has changed. That's all it is. And we're lucky we have more opportunities now to have more conversations than ever before. And it's important that we pay attention to that and think about what conversations we have, where we can start having these conversations and have access to. If you think about that, people think it's so difficult to go and sell or to market and things like that. But for a long time, people sold without having social media, without having paid ads on Meta and then YouTube, like literally did. So there's lots of ways of doing it. But it's interesting how the process is still the same. Like, the fundamentals behind what an ad does is no different to what happened before ads even existed, or online ads even existed. The process is still the same about making people aware you actually exist in the first place, making sure they're aware they've actually got a problem, nurturing them through some kind of conversation. And that conversation can be done in different ways. Remember, relationships are built in lots of different ways. You're still creating that relationship with them, and then you can start making an offer, and you build a relationship more, and then you can make more offers to them and so on the back end and so on. That's existed for hundreds of years, literally hundreds of years. It's just done in a different way now.
No like and trust. No like and trust. It will always be there. And it's so important. But anyway, yeah, I think we'll bring it to a close there. So hopefully that's given everybody a good idea on some of the things that we would do differently. Obviously, it's hard to kind of recap it all in just half an hour. But yeah, and definitely what we said, what you actually want, your business model and pricing, and how you would find clients are probably the three main things that most people would look at to start to get their business going.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that. If I was, like, for me, if I was going to recap it for how I do things differently, it'll be very similar to what you just said there. Figure out exactly what it is I want from the business, work out who I want to serve, what the problem solving for them, what the offers are going to be to them, and then I go and make sure I go and find the people for it. So yeah, pretty much exactly the same thing I would do different.
Appreciate everybody watching. If you have any thoughts or questions on this topic, do let us know, and we will see you all on maybe next week's episode. I'll be away next week. Are you here next week?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see if we can make it or not. It don't matter either way. But just quickly before we do go, there's a link somewhere around this video if you can see it, which is going to be to our summit, which is in a month's time? I think it's a month's time, and there's some tickets and stuff left for that. So if you want to come along to that, that'd be absolutely amazing. You want to come meet me and Dave and lots of other professionals and fit pros who all work in the industry. You can come along to it. It is in Brentford, just outside London. So yeah, tickets are available. They're an amazing price as well, like absolute steal. So you want to find out more about that? We've got special guest speakers on. We've got loads of workshops running, even food's included. So we'll even feed you whilst you're there. So come check it out. Around here somewhere. What a day! What a day!
Cool. Appreciate it all, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the FitPro Social. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.